What is up, everybody? It is your boy back again with another album review, of course. Again, fresh out the shower, nice damp hair on me. And today we are reviewing, as I have mentioned when I reacted to it, God Did, DJ Khaled's most recent album. Again, I did a full reaction to the entire album in one video a little over a week ago, and I decided to get my final thoughts together, let all the songs grow on me, grow off me, and make my final decisions about the album, and give it a little summarized review. If you want to check out the reaction video, I'll put an iCard right in the top of your screen right now, in the top right. Go watch it. It was very fun. I have some timestamps there if you want to hear any particular songs. And if you want to listen through the whole thing, I don't blame you. It's actually a pretty good album. So that's how I'm going to start off giving my thoughts. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it quite a bit. It's fun music. There's some actually incredibly good music. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the long and short of it, to be honest. But I'll go over some individual aspects, of course. First of all, the features were very good. You had like Nardo Wick, who I'm not a huge fan of, Kodak Black, who's inconsistent, but when he's good, he's really good. And then you have like Juice WRLD, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Eminem, Kanye West, all of these like big names. You got Quavo Takeoff also. You have Travis Scott, you have Don Toliver. You got a lot of big ones. You got Jadakiss. That's a very particularly good song in my opinion as well. I'll give you my rough top 5 at the end of it, but I'll just give you a quick like rundown of each track and my overall thoughts on it after having the album exist for a little while, at least after I've listened to it. And if you want to know what my individual rankings are of each song, go check out the reaction video. I give my thoughts on them there. And for individual songs, it hasn't really changed very much, my thoughts on them, because, I mean, first impressions are, with songs, I feel like, are usually pretty consistent with how you feel of the song in the future. If you don't like it at first, it's usually not going to grow on you. There are some special cases, but that didn't happen in this album. I would let you know if it did, of course. But usually my ratings right when I react to a song stick. So the first track is No Secret. It's just a little intro. It's like 40 seconds long of just Drake singing. It's pretty alright, but it's only 40 seconds. There's not a whole lot going on. But for what it was trying to accomplish, it got the job done. That's all I really have to say about it. Then we have God Did. Now, I'll mention this now, and I obviously will mention it later when I go over my top 5. God Did is the best song on the album. If you haven't heard the album, or you're interested, or you just want a little bit of it, listen to God Did. I guess it's not a little bit, because it's 8 minutes long, but it's 8 minutes that are worth it. You got a pretty solid hook sang by Friday, who I actually had never heard of until this song. You have, of course, the production throughout the entire album is great. It's DJ Khaled. He's known for that. That's his whole thing. He's the producer. And then you are given a really good verse by Rick Ross, about a minute long, maybe a little longer. A really good minute and a half long verse from Lil Wayne. And then an absolute godly verse from Jay-Z that goes on for probably about 4 minutes. It's crazy. That's easily the best verse on the entire album is Jay-Z's verse on God Did. That song is incredible. After God Did is the Use This Gospel remix. Now, I actually had not heard the original version of Use This Gospel from Jesus is King until after I listened to this, because I was like, oh, it's a remix. Let me listen to the original and see what I think. Honestly, the remix is great, because like you have Kanye West and Eminem on a song. And in the reaction video, as some of you may have seen, I was a little upset that Kanye didn't have a verse. Then I realized it was a remix and said, oh, he probably has a verse on the original. He does not. 2 rappers that I've actually never heard of, can't even remember their names right now, are featured on it, and they give the verses, and Kanye just does the same hook that he does on the remix. I do think the remix is a little overproduced, but I kind of like it in a way. I also like the way the humming sounds with Kanye in the remix a little bit more than the original, and I like the Eminem verse more than the old verses. I think ideally the humming would be more focused on Kanye, because I'm pretty sure it's more choir sounding in the original. I think ideally you would just take the remix, like lyrics and all of that, and put that on top of the original beat, and I think that would be ideal, but overall I do like the remix more. You can't hate a good Eminem verse. Like, come on, it's Eminem. He's amazing. But I'm still upset that we did not get a Kanye verse from that. After Jesus Gospel, we have Big Time. This was probably my least favorite song on the whole thing, which I was very upset about because it's Future and Lil Baby, and they have a lot of other good stuff together. They have like Just Like Me from I Never Liked You from this year. Obviously, Out the Mud, a classic from I think like 2018. I love that song. That's definitely my favorite song that they're both on together. So I was very disappointed when I saw these two on a song and it just did not click, you know? I was not super happy about that. That's all I really have to say about Big Time, though. It was not exciting. But after Big Time, we have Keep Going, which we have Lil Durk, I believe it was Roddy Ricch. Yeah, Lil Durk, Roddy Ricch, and 21 Savage. Now, I like all three of these rappers. Obviously, Roddy Ricch has been in a little bit of a slump ever since Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial. His incredible album dropped back in the end of 2019, so almost 3 years ago now. His most recent album, Live Life Fast, was okay. Had a lot of decent songs on it. No, like, super bangers, but a couple of pretty freaking good songs, and that's about it. Everything else was kind of mid, in my opinion. And I really hope that he can, like, come back and, like, deliver in the industry soon, because when he does well, he does really well. His Feed the Streets 2, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, some of his singles, like Project Dreams, I love that song with Marshmello. His next album is Feed the Streets 3, so I'm very looking forward to that. I'm hoping it is as good as Feed the Streets 2, if not better. Yeah, let me get back onto the actual song, Keep Going. We have Lil Durk, 21 Savage, and Roddy Ricch. Roddy Ricch had a decent verse, unfortunately. Not really to my surprise, Durk and 21 did out-rap him. They are definitely better than him right now, in a lot of facets. Lil Durk's verse was probably my favorite. He came in no auto. I love when Durk does that, especially on songs like No Auto by Uzi. Stuff like that. I love when Durk does that. He was just kind of spitting going in at the beginning. Roddy Ricch's verse was alright. It wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it. And then 21 Savage, he's 21 Savage. He's just really pleasant to listen to when you're into rap music. 21 Savage also had a really good verse. Overall, Keep Going was another really good song. Next, track number 6 was Party, which was an odd sample. I think I mentioned this in the reaction video as well. But, I mean, Khaled did what he could with it. I mean, he took that sample and he did about as good as you can making a beat with it. So, I mean, I don't think that's so unimpressive. Definitely not the strongest production on the album. There are definitely some songs that have better beats to them, like Bills Paid has a very good beat. Songs like Beautiful might be my favorite beat on the whole entire project. God did Grateful towards the end of it. I think that's the outro song. It has better production, but Party's not bad. It's Quavo and Takeoff. Again, rest in peace Offset from the Migos. I hope they get back together at some point. But it was good. The verses on it by Quavo and Takeoff are both pretty good. I don't actually recall if there was a hook on this one. I don't think there was. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, though. I haven't heard this song in a couple of days. I've only listened to it maybe 3 or 4 times because I knew I just liked it off rip and I didn't feel like I needed it to marinate with me a little bit longer. But overall, it's a pretty solid song. Not the best production, but pretty good. After that, we have the single for the album, Staying Alive, Drake and Lil Baby. Both the second appearance for both of those artists. And this song is very good. There's a reason it was the single. The little lyric sample from the Bee Gees' Staying Alive, pretty funny. The song itself is pretty good. I like Drake's verse. The hook, I didn't like at first, but it grew on me. And Lil Baby's verse is the best part of the song, in my opinion, and I really like when Lil Baby sings the hook towards the end. So yeah, Staying Alive is a good song. You guys have probably heard it by now. And now we're moving on to track number 8, which is actually the biggest surprise, in my opinion, which is Beautiful by Future and SZA. When I saw this song, I was like, oh, okay. And that's it. I didn't expect much from it, and it's definitely one of the better songs on the album for me. The lyrics are kind of interesting, with Future saying that you can't leave him just because he cheated on you, which is questionable. But overall, I think when it comes to a song being fun to listen to, it's got to sound nice, have a nice beat, which I mentioned before, Beautiful has one of my favorite beats, some of the best production on the entire album, and it's just got to have nice flows, nice sounds, and all of that. I think, honestly, it's good to listen to lyrics. It really depends on the type of rap that you're listening to, but when it comes to listening to Future, the lyrics aren't really what you're listening for, so if the lyrics are kind of stupid, but it sounds nice, that's kind of all you really need. But Beautiful's just really good, and SZA's hook is very nice. She has a very great singing voice, obviously. She's famous for it for a reason. And yeah, I just like Beautiful a lot. It's a weird falsetto on Future's voice the whole time, but I think he did his job with it, and it turned out pretty nice. After Beautiful is It Ain't Safe. This is another one of my least favorite songs on this entire record. Excuse me. This is Nardo Wick and Kodak Black. I definitely am more of a Kodak Black fan than I already was. I liked him already, but after Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I had I gained more respect for him. I mentioned this in my reaction video as well, after or before we had listened to It Ain't Safe. And Nardo Wick I've never been a huge fan of, but It Ain't Safe is kind of meh. The hook has grown on me a little bit since I first listened to it, but still not amazing. It's decent. I thought it was pretty bad at first, but it's okay. Nardo Wick's verse is eh, and Kodak's verse is unfortunately not great. It leaves a lot to be desired. I was really hoping that Kodak could do his thing on there, like he did on Silent Hill, on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and the Rich interlude of the same album. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and it ended with a pretty mid-song. I'd say I think it might be a little better than Big Time. I don't know. I don't like either of them. I probably like them about the same amount. Not great songs. After It Ain't Safe, we have Let's Pray, which is Don Toliver and Travis Scott, a pretty classic combination. I was very excited to hear this, and I was not disappointed. A nice hook from Don Toliver, a nice verse from Don Toliver, and an even nicer verse from Travis Scott, in my opinion. Nothing crazy on the production side of things. Of course, it's nice, but it's not like stand out. It doesn't stand out relative to some of the other songs that I mentioned before, like Beautiful. But it was solid. Let's Pray was a pretty good song. I liked that one quite a bit. After this one I actually liked a lot too. It was Fam Good We Good, which was Gunna and Roddy Ricch. Roddy Ricch made another appearance. Roddy Ricch's verse on this was probably even better than his verse on Keep Going. I liked that quite a bit. Gunna kind of took the reins on this song though. He had a hook. He had the hook and the verse. His verse was better than Roddy Ricch's, and the hook was really good. I typically don't like repetitive hooks, like something like "Stop Snitching" from YG. Actually, that song is actually kind of good. But usually a repetitive hook where they just say the same thing a million times over and over again, I'm not a huge fan of. But the way Gunna did it on "Fam Good We Good" was pretty good. I liked it a lot. It was pretty good to see what I did there. And "Fam Good We Good" also had some pretty solid production on it, of course. That brings us to track 12, which was Bills Paid. I mentioned this one. It had very good production. I like the beat on this one quite a bit. This song is with Lotto and City Girls. I've never been a huge City Girls fan, but their verses were not nearly as abrasive as I had expected from, listening to City Girls songs in the past, especially Young Miami. No offense, of course. If you like their music, go ahead, but Young Miami has quite the abrasive voice. JT's not as bad, but not great either, but they did fine. Their verses were decent. Lotto's verses were pretty solid, and her hook was alright. And of course, the production again was pretty solid. Overall, it was okay. Definitely not one of my favorites. I definitely liked it more than Big Time and It Ain't Safe, but it wasn't super crazy to me. I believe I rated this like maybe a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10 on the reaction video, and I will stick by whatever I said there because I think that's fair for it. And yeah, Bills Paid was just kind of in my opinion. Which brings us to Way Past Luck. This is another one of my favorite songs on the entire thing. It's just 21 Savage. The production is just like a classic like hip-hop beat, like something you would hear on Jodeci Freestyle-esque type songs, Drake and J. Cole. It's that style of beat, and I love that because that's just like what you go in on. That's like you rap on a beat like that. And 21 Savage did that, and it was a really enjoyable song. It's definitely one of my favorites, Way Past Luck. Flows are great. Production, again, very good. It's 21 Savage, good lyrics, all that stuff. And overall, just a genuinely just very likable song. And that brings us to an interesting one. These Streets Know My Name. Now, this one features just a bunch of Jamaican artists with incredibly thick accents, which does make it kind of hard to understand at times as a white boy that I am. But honestly, it wasn't as bad as you would expect. You definitely could pick up on most of, if not all of the lyrics after just thinking about it for a second, except for the fact that some of it definitely got to a point where it sounded like that they were speaking patois instead of just English, which is probably the case considering the whole point of the song is that it's just incorporating Jamaican culture into the album, which I like in concept, but not in practice. Overall, the song wasn't amazing. The on the latter half, there were a couple of verses that I enjoyed. I think it was Skillabang and one of the other people on it had pretty solid verses. I just think with artists, there are certain flows that you have to match with the style that you're trying to rap in, and obviously you have to match with the beat. And a lot of artists do that well, and I think on the former half of this song, a couple of the artists couldn't really find flows that their voices flowed properly on, so it kind of sounded a little awkward. But on the latter half, as I mentioned before, the verses sounded a lot better. The flows fit the beat and the vibe of the song better. So it was overall okay. Again, not one of my favorites, but it was all right. Which brings us to Juice WRLD did. Now, I'm a pretty big Juice WRLD fan for his just rapping skills, which, as I mentioned in the reaction video, he does not do nearly as much as his sappy, singy stuff, which I don't mind that either. Songs like Lucid Dreams and All Girls Are the Same. They're still really good music, but stuff like 1400999 Freestyle is the stuff that I like from Juice WRLD. When he's rapping like that, which he doesn't really do, honestly, that much at all, especially in his more recent posthumous albums. He definitely does it, just relative to how much he does other styles, primarily his like melodic, sappy stuff. It's not nearly as much, so it's just percentage-wise, like, minuscule. But he's really rapping on this. The beat is one of my favorites on the entire album, and the story behind it that I learned after reacting is actually pretty interesting, that his Juice WRLD's team, obviously because he's passed away almost for 3 years now, which is crazy, sent Khaled this song to put it on his album because it was a song where the hook was him rapping about DJ Khaled and tying it into like bars about phrases that DJ Khaled uses, like Another One and We the Best, which I think is very funny because you would think that he had recorded it for DJ Khaled at first, which I did, just obviously more than 3 years ago. And that's not the case. He actually recorded it ahead of time, and then one of his team sent Khaled the song, which I think is interesting. And the song itself is really good. The hook is catchy, the beat fits it perfectly, and the flows of the verses and everything sound really nice. I think Khaled did an amazing job on this one, especially because we know that he was working on vocals that didn't have a beat for this, and he was trying to find something that matched, as opposed to, obviously, sometimes the process goes beat first and have it rapped over afterwards. I know that's not always how it goes, but he was forced into this format, obviously, because this song was pre-recorded, and I find it very impressive how perfectly he managed to fit it. So, Juice WRLD did another one of my favorite songs, pretty close to the top, in my opinion. And that brings us to another banger, the Jadakiss interlude. I was expecting this to just be Jadakiss talking, spitting some wisdom in our ears, and that's it. It actually starts with a clip, audio from a live performance, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that they did something like that for an interlude. And then it cuts to a beat, and Jadakiss actually rapping over it, and it's really freaking good. Obviously, Jadakiss, been around for a while, he knows what he's doing. His flows on the beat are amazing, his bars are really good, and overall it just sounds right, and it's really, really enjoyable of a song, especially relative to some of the other ones. No shade to the other ones, obviously I've had pretty positive things to say overall, but the Jadakiss interlude is just a very, 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 very solid song. And that brings us to track 17, which is Assad and Alam Cloth Talk, which is just a skit of DJ Khaled saying to his sons, "What do I say? What do I say?" And his sons just screaming, "God did," which is pretty funny. But that's about it. It's just like, it's less than a minute long. It's pretty funny. I like that it was there. It's not really a song, so I'm not going to give anything further on it. Which brings us to our outro that I mentioned before when I was talking about well-produced songs, which is Grateful, featuring Vori. Now, I have not listened to a lot of Vori in my time. I know I like that one song from 5EO Foreign's Bible album that he's featured on. I don't remember what the name of it is, but that was pretty good. Obviously, No Child Left Behind from Donda, the most lyrically complex song of the decade. If you don't know why I'm saying that, I show it in the reaction video, but you could also just look it up on Genius yourself, look up the lyrics to No Child Left Behind. It's pretty funny, but I did like how he did on that song, and I thought that he really fit this outro pretty well. It was a very heavenly type beat, if you will, and he really fit on it with his singing, even though he does use auto-tune quite a bit. I think it sounds nice on his voice, because I feel like sometimes it sounds really stupid on certain artists' voices, but it just fits him. It's not like copious amounts of auto-tune, but it's like there permanently, basically, when he's singing. It's part of his style, though, and I think it fits. It fit the vibe of the song, it fit the words he was saying, and it fit the vibe of the album. It felt very heavenly, or Ascension-like, if you will, which fits for an album titled God Did. However, I do think the song God Did would have made for a very good outro or intro, and get rid of the No Secrets intro that Drake was in that was 40 seconds long. I feel like Grateful and God Did could have been interchangeable for outros and intros for the album. I feel like God Did could have been used like that, ending it off with just that absolute banger. But it's whatever. Grateful's a great song. It's another really good one. And that's the whole track overview. And yeah, overall, album's production is absolutely incredible. I wouldn't expect any less from Khaled. Obviously, it's literally his thing. The features definitely delivered, most of the time at least. There are very few exceptions to that. Yeah, I just think it's an overall really nice album. And again, for those of you that don't know how I rate my albums, I rate them on how much of a must-listen I believe they are if you are a fan of this genre. And that genre, most of the time, is going to be hip-hop. The only exception so far was when I went over An Evening with Silk Sonic, because that's an R&B album, but still, this album's really good. Before I give you my rating, I wanted to give you what I think are my top 5. I have a nice Google Doc over here so I didn't forget it. For number 5, it's a tie between the Use This Gospel remix or Beautiful, Future and SZA. I like both of the songs a lot. As I mentioned, I think the beat on Beautiful is better. The beat on Use This Gospel is almost intrusive at points, like I mentioned before, but I think the lyrics and the flows are a little better than the lyrics and the flows of the other artists on the original version of Use This Gospel. So that's why I like it more than the original. But Use This Gospel remix and Beautiful are both two really solid songs, so they're going to share the number 5 spot because I can't choose which one I like more. Number 4, through 2, to be honest, these next 3, except for number 1, are pretty close. So just, if you feel like they're out of order, I might think they're out of order. I just kind of put them in whatever order I felt like, because I like them pretty equally. But number 4, I put Way Past Luck with 21 Savage. That song's just really good, as I mentioned before. Number 3, I put the Jadakiss interlude, because, again, just an amazing song. Great performance by Jadakiss. I like the implementation of an audio recording from a live performance as well, and the way it's sequenced into an actual new song. It was really nice. And then number 2, I have Juice WRLD Did. I talked about this one for a while. I think it's very impressive how Khaled handled making the beat for a pre-recorded song. I think the lyrics, and obviously Juice WRLD's flows and everything, he did his part too. Juice WRLD's a great rapper. And yeah, Juice WRLD Did's just a really good song. It's my second favorite song on the album, probably. Way Past Luck and Jadakiss interlude could potentially pass it in time, but I doubt it. And number 1, as I mentioned before, is God Did. God Did is just, you feel like you are floating into heaven as you're listening to it, especially when Jay-Z's part comes in. Like, no disrespect to Rick Ross or Lil Wayne, but like, Jay-Z's verse was crazy. And that's all I really have to say about the individual tracks. Those are my top 5. And I'll give this album on a scale of must listen, if you're a rap fan, a nice 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. It's very varying in tracks, in styles via the tracks. I don't know why I struggle to say that so much. So there's a lot of different styles of rap, as happens when you're a producer featuring just a bunch of different artists, which could be a good thing or a bad thing to hurt or help its score, because that means that there's more of a chance that 1 or 2 songs are going to be liked by more people, but there's also less of a chance that somebody's going to like every single individual style on it. So I didn't really use that to take or add from it, because depending on how you interpret it. So this is a good 8.5 to probably a 9 out of 10 if you just enjoy rap music. Bunch of different styles. I can assure you that you will like at least one of the songs on here. And yeah, that's God Did by DJ Khaled. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, check out the reaction video if you haven't yet. It's very interesting. It's very fun. And you get to see my first thoughts on all of the songs that I just mentioned. And I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.